Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, backed by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Youth basketball should be safe, organized, have an environment that's conducive to teaching and learning, have expert coaches, and most of all, the players must have fun. Our league starts November 3rd for ages 5 to age 17. It's an 8-week program. The cost is $150. That includes the uniform. Call MJ at 710-7005 or go to swbbcamp.net.
The service department at Galley Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Galley Chevrolet.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
It's a Tuesday morning before Thanksgiving, and it is the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti, joined by Steve Davis, Alden Iowani, our fine director, and we will be joined by Ed Nunez in the second segment. We want to talk sports with you, and we're going to do that here today. So we're going to run down a very, very busy week. We'll also talk some Lobo sports with Ed, and should be a very rapid show. And it's rapid, Steve, because everything coming to a head at the same time. We had the volleyball championships over the weekend. We had a championship in high school football already, and now we got semifinals in a lot of the divisions.
Well, I tell you, you got semifinals, and you also have 2A and 6A championships
Right.
on Saturday,
Right.
and I guess it almost takes a segment out of your thing because you don't have to put the ratings anymore. So you got one less thing to worry about now.
Exactly.
And guess what? All the speculation is over. The top 4 teams and the finalists are here.
Yeah, you know, and that's one of the things. 9 times out of 10, it seems to work out that way, Steve. But we always talk about on the selection show here on Proview Network's Comcast 26. Adam Deal doing a great job on that, and it was fun to be a part of that again this year. But you know, it's one of those situations where you're going over all these teams and you're wondering if they're going to get it right. But the Final Four, they usually get right.
Well, guess what? In 6A, the Final Four is right, and 5A, it's right, and you just keep going down the list. There's a few upsets there, but it's out there. It's exciting this time of year.
It's semifinals, and we already have a who owes who game as Las Lunas ends up getting the home game, even though they're the lower seed.
I know, and we're going to get to do that. I got it on the NFHS channel, talked with Wilson Holland, and we're all aboard on that. And we're going to do the also the St. Pius game this weekend, and we've got a lot of games this week.
A lot of games.
7 games when it all boils down to.
Yeah, that's.
Get your passes.
Buy
your passes.
And all pretty much at the same time, right?
Right.
Well,
yeah.
some are on Friday and some are on Saturday.
Right. I think there's 3 on Friday and 4 on Saturday.
Right. So it's going to be a busy, busy, busy week. Let's look at last week's schedule. Speaking of graphics, we'll take a look at the 8-man semifinals first, as we'll look into that. And the 8-man semifinals looked as follows. Number 2 Tatum over Mountain Air, 35-28. Gateway Christian, no problem with number 5 Melrose. So those two teams, and we'll talk about that when we put the schedule up later, but you have Tatum and Gateway, the numbers 1 and 2 teams, facing off.
Yeah, but number 2 gets the home court advantage, or home field advantage. You know, they're going to be down in Tatum. We'll be there to do that game on the NFHS. And again, I can't stress, buy your passes, get involved and support your team.
Let's look now at the 2A playoffs, and that was also semifinals last week. And you had Santa Rosa beating a very good Fort Sumner House team, 24-13. Number 1 Eunice, 56-14 over Estancia. What about Santa Rosa? They've been doing really, really well this year.
Well, they always seem to be there. I mean, if you go back 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it just seemed like in Santa, maybe even go longer, but it just seemed like Santa Rosa was the dynasty. And now, but guess what? They have to go to Eunice and 2 years in a row, and Josh Brown's excited. He already got his reservations. He's got everybody. You know, he's a legend already down there, so he knows he got his.
He's a legend everywhere. What are you talking about? But anyway, 3A playoffs in the quarterfinals looked like this, as the rest of these are quarterfinals. You had Hope all over Tularosa. West Las Vegas, somewhat of an upset over Socorro, somewhat not, because West Las Vegas plays in a very tough district. Robertson, also a slight upset over number 4 St. Mike's, and Dexter a win over Hatch Valley.
Well, I look at this, and you know, Hope is, I think, still the team that's going to dominate the team to beat. You know, they had a 3-week playoff, and they dominated their opponent last weekend.
How about Hope and West Las Vegas meeting in football? We've seen them meet in basketball many times. Now they're meeting in football.
Well, it's a very, very high rivalry behind the scenes.
It really is.
You know, people don't realize that, but I know covering those tournaments in basketball and how many times West Las Vegas and our friend Richard Tripp was talking about how can they compete with Hope, and here they are again. They're going to have to go compete with them. 4A
quarterfinals. And this is a good bracket also. Bloomfield beating Kirtland 21-0. Number 1 St. Pius over Aztec. You had Taos over Lovington, and Portales beating Grants. St. Pius right now, obviously head and shoulders above, but Portales really coming on strong here of late, and they're putting up a lot of points.
Well, I think the big question here is St. Pius losing their quarterback. They struggled to win that game, and they lost him in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. So the key here is, can Pius, come out with a victory this weekend?
In 5A, that is a big key, Steve. In 5A, you have number 1 Roswell, 49-8 over Valley. Judge Chavez, nothing to hang his head on, as this was a good season for them, as they were very competitive, but just not enough as they face the number 1 seed. Artesia, number 4 seed, always scary, beating Piedra Vista 39-20, and that probably a more entertaining game than people thought, as I picked Artesia all the way, but Piedra Vista very competitive as well. Las Lunas beating Belen again, and Goddard over Deming.
Yeah, but look at that score. That's a main play. 20. They won by 4 points, and I think Belen was up most of the game. And again, another game that we did on the NFHS channel, and a lot of people watched the game.
Well, you said it before, Steve. That's a rivalry game, and all records go out the window.
I said that when last week. I remember saying
you said that last week. You said watch this game and keep an eye on this game, and that was kind of your game of the week because you knew it was going to be close.
I really did. I had a feeling there that you put 2 teams. I remember saying it's hard to beat 2 teams in one season, or be a team.
That
twice
was the game. You said that, yes, sir.
And it came out good, but. Isn't it interesting? You got Roswell, Artesia, and Goddard, and they're all within 25 miles.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, it sets up an outstanding semifinals. So it should be fun as you got Roswell, Artesia, and let's look at the quarterfinals now for 6A. And you had No surprises really, although La Cueva and a nail biter. And that's probably no surprise also against a very proud number 7 seed Las Cruces. 17-14 was the final score there. But Cleveland, Manzano, 41-22. For a while the game was a little bit closer than the score indicates, but too much Cleveland in this one. And Volcano Vista just leveled Cibola. I was surprised that that was more of a blowout than it was.
You know, I just, you know, you look at that, like, no surprises, but the closest of the scores, and I think, you know, Manzano, you know, what would happen if, you know, the coach has a baby and he gets right there before the game, and they got off to a bad start. I mean, I don't know.
He literally got there before the game, yeah.
So you look at those things, but basically it's the top 4 seeds. 250 teams are going to be playing each other this weekend, and boy, it can't be getting better than this weekend.
First chance to say, by the way, congratulations to Coach Philip Martinez, his wife, for their new addition to the family. And, you know, there was speculation.
I'm glad he went to the game.
What would have happened if she would have given birth right before the game? You know, who would have coached? So it was kind of a tense scene, but he made it to the game, and his teams rallied around him. But it was a little short against a very, very good Cleveland team. And I'll tell you what, seeing them in person, Cleveland, they passed the eye test in terms of, you know, Dorian Lewis was the top player in the state by far. He was a playmaker, a touchdown waiting to happen. You know, you give him the ball and he makes things happen. He was out of the lineup. Now all of a sudden, Jeff Davison steps up. Only a sophomore. You got Nieto in the backfield. You got all these guys who were going to be star players anyway, and now all of a sudden they're able to shine. And I'll tell you, the versatility is very scary, and their defense is just off the chart.
Well, I think you just give credit to the offensive line.
Exactly.
And you know, really, you take Volcano Vista and Cleveland playing this weekend, and we're going to see what the difference of Lewis. I think this is a game that we're going to see the difference of Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay, because Lewis is one of the
Because Volcano Vista showed that they could score against them, so they'll be able to keep up a little more in theory. Although Cleveland now has a better chance to look at the tape to see what they did wrong and game plan against that. So it's back to your theory. I'm playing the same team twice.
Back to playing that, a district rivalry, okay? Also, the team, we both historically, hey, just it's going to be in the 70s, okay? Yeah, okay. It's a real over/under is going to be 70 or 70 plus, but that's where I could see the difference of Lewis, because he's the breakaway guy. I don't see those other guys being the breakaway guy to get that, you know, to break that one little tackle and go into the end zone.
Absolutely. Well,
I can see him grinding it out 5, 10, 15 yards. But now can Volcano Vista stop that, and can somebody from Cleveland make the big breakaway run?
What are your thoughts going into this week, Steve? What are some of your predictions?
Well, I think La Cueva's their offense. If La Cueva's offense plays well, they're going to beat Centennial. Centennial, Coach Combo, great year, 250 teams. How neat is that to going into the semifinals? One's going to have to come out loser, and
two teams that scrap like one another. They're almost, in that regard, they're almost like identical teams because they've had to fight and claw to win games.
I really believe, you know, La Cueva's defense is one of the best in the state. I think Centennial will struggle scoring, but it might be okay because I don't know that you know, it's no big secret. La Cueva's struggling to score.
Right.
And,
yeah, which is kind of a surprise, but it's what's happened lately.
It is what it is.
Right.
It is what it is, and you know, and I'm sure they're working. Maybe they're overthinking it or overdoing it. But I'm just saying, a team that, you know, dominated, you know, the first 4 games. Right now, you know, you look at their margin of victory. The last Clovis 3-point game. I mean, everything you look at in the last 3 weeks hasn't been good. But here's one thing I will say: they figure a way out how to win.
Let's look at some of the local games here involving Metro teams. Hope Christian Robertson played at Milne. That'll be on Friday. Your thoughts on that?
I just think it's Hope Christians. You know, it's just they're the team. They're the dominating team, and they got the best athletes, and it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be a 2 or 3 touchdown game.
St. Pius on Saturday at 1 o'clock at Newsenda Community Stadium. They'll be taking on Bloomfield, and that's an interesting matchup.
Big question mark for St. Pius, losing their quarterback.
Yeah.
How can they adjust? How much is a new quarterback going to step up, and other players and other senior leadership going to come through that weekend, or is that going to be their first upset?
One that's going to be exciting, number 2 Goddard, which runs the ball extremely well. They'll pass on occasion. They got a big line. They got a big quarterback taking on Las Lunas. Las Lunas with the home game.
You said the word home game. Goddard going on the road. This could be, historically, this game's close, no matter what the talent and whatever it is. So
right.
I hear Goddard. I haven't seen Goddard or seen him play this year, but I understand that
I've seen them on video, and they're very physical.
That's exactly right. But they got to go to Las Lunas, hostile environment.
Right.
And then,
right.
and better buy your tickets now. You better go set up. Forget Thanksgiving. You better get there right now.
Speaking of not seeing teams, 2 out of the area teams playing, but we've talked about one of them. Well, actually, we've talked about both of them. So I wanted your thoughts on this game. You got number 4 Artesia, number 1 Roswell. You've seen Roswell.
I think his name's JT. The guy, Roswell,
the paper,
sports beat guy. Sports. He really thinks it's. I can't get out of Artesia not being there. Okay,
right.
I just
right.
You can say that historically it just seems like everybody's beating up how bad Artesia is, but you look who they played, and guess what? They're right there, and
right.
It just seems like. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned. I just see Artesia winning this game.
And finally, back to the 6A, as you got a couple of fun games. Cleveland Volcano.
Like I said,
you always said go with the over, so we've already established that.
And I just think that Cleveland still has too many horses. They confidence. They play with a lot of confidence. Coach Reiner is going to put some new players. A fun game to go watch them play. If you like offense, this game is going to be. You're going to see a little Coach Wallen. He always throws a little trick plays in. And it's actually who's going to out trick the other team is what we're going to see.
And then you got a team kind of the opposite, a game where you're expecting great defense. La Cueva Centennial.
Right. If you want to see a defensive game, that's what you're going to see. And I think that I said it earlier. La Cueva's offense plays well, they're going to win the game.
Right.
This Coach Ocampo, his name speaks for himself. I mean, he's one of the best top coaches in the state, and La Cueva has their hands full.
As always, Steve, one final word.
I tell you, buy your passes. You just get out and support these teams, and you got 2 weekends of football, and guess what? December 4th, basketball is on its way, so I just want to throw that one in.
He's Steve Davis. We'll bring in Ed Nunez in just a moment. It's the Sports Desk. Time now for the top 10 plays of the week, brought to you by Dreamstyle.
Scores on the year to Gallegos. He's going to pitch it. He's going to throw it back to Deathridge, and he's going to make the catch. Oh, man, this beat is crazy. Sits from the outside. They swing it as picked up. This is going to be returned for a touchdown. Big room out in front. Jake's going all the way for the touchdown. 21 per game. A little bit higher than that. Here's a turnover. Jones to the rock. Thank you very much. Has a man wide open, caught. 15-10 to the house.
Does it get in? Touchdown, La Cueva Bears.
Madison, and Madison's going to get the straight carry, and Madison cuts and dives and fires forward, and excuse me, it's Nieto, and he's got all the speed in the world, and he's through.
Out of going in the gun, back to the pass, 5-step drop, throws in the end zone. Good caught, but it's in. Touchdown! Wow. Oh, what a catch! Fire one towards the end zone here. He's definitely got the arm for it. He's going to step into it. He's going deep. He's got an open man down the sideline. It's caught, and he is in!
Oh! Turnover. Here comes Carpenter. Alley-oop, put it down. Hammer time. Team's leading scorer, close to 20 a game, hits that one. Back it the other way, Mitchell with the handle, putting it down.
High school sports are back. The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every Proview Network broadcast live on the NFHS network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProviewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Welcome back here to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti, joined by Ed Nunez. Our thanks, as always, to Steve Davis, one of the co-hosts here on the show, for doing a great job. Alden Iowani. The crew is here, Josh Brown, Jason Poole, and we thank all those guys for getting us on the air here. Well, let's bring in Ed, and Ed, we're going to look at the highlights of some of the games last week. We'll start with the game that you did, Las Lunas Belen.
Las Lunas Belen held a 10-0 lead at the half, and we had mentioned that Belen coach Greg Henningsen was going to have to come up with some new wrinkles. He did, and here's a big play here from Luke Ottagon to Raymond Sterling. What a pitch and catch right there. I wasn't sure that Sterling got his feet in, but he did.
Wow, what a great catch that was, and that put Belen up. And then
there's an interception. Off a tip pass. And several tip passes by the Belen defensive front seven. I believe this is the Luke Ottagon 36-yard field goal that gave Belen a 10-0 lead at the half. Beautiful day, by the way, for football in Las Lunas.
Sure looks like it.
This is the third quarter, and big play here. We were wondering when Cody Vacu would come to the party, and he does right there with a big catch inside the 10-yard line.
And what did it take, 3 guys to guard him?
Yes. Oh, this was a fumble snap that Donald Lucero, the lineman, picked up. They were going out of Wildcat, and really the ball bounced Las Lunas way, and Las Lunas coach Jeremy Maupin reminded me today that Las Lunas won the second half 21-7, and they did. That was a great play there from Aragon to Roy Ball. Big play, but they came up empty here. I think they scored. This is an interception, I believe, by Michael Montoya, the safety. That was huge. They went for it on 4th and 5, and I thought they were going to put some points on the board. Otagon definitely within his field goal range, but they decided to go for it and it was intercepted. And there's a 1-yard plunge there, I believe, by Bryce Santana.
Yeah, 4th and goal, no less.
Casillas, big run here by Diego Casillas. We know what a great back that he is. 9-yard run there, and they took the lead again. And so here comes Las Lunas back, and that's Benavides. There's the game clincher right there, Scott, to Cody Vacu on a 22-yard touchdown pass. And then Belen did drive down the field and had a big, oh, look at this fake here. They called a timeout, and then they come out and run the fake 2-point conversion and get that. So they made Belen have to score a touchdown, and Otagon is, I think, going to be throwing interception here. But game effort by the Eagles. Really game effort after getting pretty much their hats handed to them 2 weeks before, 35-13. It really had a great effort out there, but Las Lunas just too much in the second half, and they overcome some adversity and win 21-17.
Let's take a look now at probably the most exciting game, and a lot of people didn't think it would be, but Las Cruces, a very proud program, took it down to the wire and made the people at La Cueva really shake a little bit.
No, they did. One of the things that Roger Holian has said is that La Cueva's last couple of weeks, they've barely escaped. There's a fumble there and a big pickup by the La Cueva defense, but La Cueva's been able to escape defeat just by the just by mere inches on some plays sometimes, or some games, I should say.
And you got Las Cruces, who hung their hat on defense, but that was a big play. Nas Robertson taking it to the house, and it was 7-0.
Yes, it was, and I think La Cueva had a big lead, and Las Cruces, with a proud playoff resume, made a strong comeback.
And speaking of strong, you're not going to get the ball away from Connor O'Toole that way.
Yeah, no, you're not. And there's Camacho, who has been one of their best players. The kicker, Damian Camacho, the junior. Oh, wow, look at that catch. Is that Ivan Molina? It has to be. Nobody makes catches like that unless it might have been someone else. But
and there's a pick 6, and Las Cruces got on the board that way.
And they came back. I'll tell you, they were down, and they really stormed back.
Big play there. So it was 17-7, and then Las Cruces will come up with this, and time was rolling down.
Well designed, well executed play, and
they would actually come up with the onside kick here, and man, that was inches away from being able to run it.
Oh yeah. So here's the attempt on the game time field goal,
and just missed it. And La Cueva holds on and gets away with not even needing overtime. So what a game that was. And now we'll switch gears and go to the #1 seed, Cleveland Storm, taking on the Manzano Monarchs. And wasn't as easy as people thought, although the start was easy, as it was Cleveland coming up with a couple of quick touchdowns, and they would take the early lead. It was 7-0 at this point, and then big play, and all of a sudden it was 14-0.
Well, that's what they're known for, is their big plays, and although they don't have Dorian Lewis, Colton Madison has filled in quite admirably.
And that was Randy Nieto on that one,
also
showing
Randy
off the
Nieto.
speed. But Madison had the first one, and then there was a fumble at the end of this play, and Cleveland would end up getting the ball, and it was that kind of night at first for Manzano.
Yeah, and you know what, Manzano, let's give them credit. I heard you congratulate head coach Philip Martinez on his new addition to the family. So they played so well in the second half of the year, and they just came up short against a very good Cleveland team. But what surprised me, and there's a field goal kick there, and I think the Gebhardt for Cleveland, the kicker,
He's
had
got
2
good
field
legs.
goals. 2 field goals that night, so give him credit. But James Yotis and Ken Sickinger both picked Manzano, and that surprised me that they both picked Manzano.
Between Erickson and Blankenship, a couple of outstanding receivers playing their final game of the year.
Well, you know what, Jack Blankenship the Erickson's that's Erickson's younger brother from last year. He had Austin Erickson. Was he a senior?
I can't remember.
Okay.
You know what? I think he is.
Okay,
actually.
He played well though. He played very well and gave them a potent offensive. And Xavier Ivory saw it as well. He had over 100 yards that game as usual.
So at this point, it was 41-14. Manzano kept playing, got the final touchdown. That was after Cleveland got a late touchdown. So final score maybe not as indicative, but Manzano gave a fight, but too much Cleveland in this one. Let's switch gears now and go to volleyball as we have the volleyball championships as in 5A, no longer. Actually, we have highlights Cibola Volcano. Was going to skip those, but we'll go ahead and go with those. So give Cibola Volcano some love here, as this was a blowout all the way. But you know, if you like Volcano highlights, this was the game.
It really was, and I thought that Cibola, you know, they'd been beaten by Volcano, 3 weeks ago? There's the option pass from Gallegos to Deathridge, I believe. So I thought Cibola might put up a better fight. I really did, and you know, they did make Scoot in as the 12th seed, and they beat Mayfield on the road. And so I thought, hey, you know what, Cibola might upset them, but Volcano too much on both sides of the ball for the Cougars.
Yeah, absolutely. Cibola got a little bit of a score there, so it was 21-7. But then Deathridge again. Man, he's got a pinpoint arm.
No, he really does. He had a great year, and I talked to one of the Volcano Vista assistant coaches yesterday, and they thought Deathridge has just played so well.
How about the guy who had a great year, Marcus Steele?
One of the best quarterbacks in the Metro, no question about it. Maybe the record doesn't reflect as many wins and losses as Roderick Williams would have liked to have had, but I love him. He's Marcus Steele's a great quarterback.
Well, the thing is, he had to carry his team.
They did. They had some weapons. Nathaniel Manzanares. They had a couple of backs. I thought they were a pretty solid team. But you know what? When it comes down to it, Volcano Vista and Cleveland, you know, Volcano was just too much for them. It was obvious. They beat them 2 weeks before. I thought Cibola might put up a better fight. But let's give Volcano Vista credit where it's due. They've got good team speed. They've got a good defense. And, you know, as I mentioned, I talked to one of the defensive assistants yesterday. They think they have a good shot. They really do. Even though they were defeated 61-46, Cleveland scoring a late touchdown to go away. But I talked to him. He's a friend of mine, and they're confident. They've watched film, and it's one thing to sit there and watch film and say you're confident. Then you step in the stadium, and things are different. You know, you're at Lightning Bolt Stadium, and that place there is as hard to win as any football place in the state. It really is.
Right.
Now, maybe not like Bulldog Bowl yet or the Wool Bowl, but still, Lightning Bolt Stadium has its own reputation. It really does.
Yeah, it was kind of empty on Friday, but yeah, still, it was a tough. Yeah, it was a cold night. Maybe they were watching on TV like most fans.
Well, you know, you got the atmosphere there. You know, you got the cannon still has me jumping. You got, you know, Gary Chavez, the PA guy, is going to let you know first down, story. You know, and you got the whole atmosphere there.
Right.
And so I'm surprised that it was kind of empty because I've never seen that place. Once in a while, you know, usually Cleveland fans, they fill up their side. Now, the other side, I've seen that empty. But the Cleveland Storm fans, and then I think the thing that I like so much is they have these young kids wearing Storm jerseys.
Right.
You know, the feeder programs.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
I love to see that. It's one of the best places in the state. Now, I haven't been to the Wool Bowl or Bulldog Bowl, and I'm sure you have. Those are good places, great places to watch games. You know, one day I hope to get out there. But
actually, I haven't been to those.
Oh, I thought you had.
No,
but you've been to Field of Dreams.
My bucket list, but I haven't been there. Yeah.
You've been to Field of Dreams. I remember the game you did.
Field of Dreams, I've been to about 4 times.
I was thinking about you the other day because it was Thanksgiving weekend about 3 years ago.
3 years ago, Andrew Shelley, who's now on the Lobos.
Boy, what a game!
Second,
what a game!
Last second field goal.
And I was teasing you because are you on the radio? Man, you had some. You're an excitable guy, man. But that was a great call. I still remember the call that you had, and I texted you. I said,
normally
wow.
I keep it low key. That last quarter, I kind of went off. And you were joking with me about that because you never really heard me get that excited.
But that deserved it. It was the proper emotion as far as I was concerned. Yeah,
you can't make up emotion.
Yeah, how would you not get excited about that? It was a great game.
I mean, that was an awesome game, and it was an awesome game from the opening kickoff, and that's the the style of play that it looks like La Cueva and Las Cruces played last week, and La Cueva pulling out the win on, ironically, a missed field goal.
That's right. That's right. And wide right, I believe. I'm not sure, but Damian Camacho, their kicker, how many wins has he pulled him out against Manzano earlier in the year?
Right.
Manzano misses the extra point. And think about how things might have gone different if Manzano had won the district. They played very well. They didn't. They had, again, they lost a lot from their state championship team. You don't lose a Jordan Bird, and a defensive. They lost a lot of defensive people on the front line.
Right.
But Philip Martinez in the second half of the year, he's definitely a Coach of the Year candidate. I would think they came farther than people. Their passing game picked up. Xavier Ivory-Sod is a workhorse back who gets 25, 30. He doesn't have the D1 speed. He doesn't have that, but he's a workhorse back that you can depend on for over 120 yards and usually 2 touchdowns a game.
We'll take a break and we'll come back with more on the Sports Desk.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
This is Coach Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Hello to all you parents out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to congratulate 38 years for the AYBL. You guys are doing a great job. You've shaped a lot of lives, young men and women, and you'll continue to do that. Parents, get involved, sign your kid up. It's a great program. It helped shape who I am today, helped shape me as a basketball player, as a coach. So get out there, sign them up. Have a great season. Good luck to everybody.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Talk to State Farm agent Greg Shamus today.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Youth basketball should be safe, organized, have an environment that's conducive to teaching and learning, have expert coaches, and most of all, the players must have fun. Our league starts November 3rd for ages 5 to age 17. It's an 8-week program. The cost is $150. That includes the uniform. Call MJ at 710-7005 or go to swbbcamp.net.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Gallotti along with Ed Nunez. We want to thank you for joining us here on ProView Comcast 26 and on Facebook Live. We'll also be on YouTube later on. Alden Iowani doing a great job as always. I'm Scott Gallotti along with Ed Nunez. And let's now look at the volleyball playoffs. We have highlights from 3A and 5A. A couple of Metro teams involved in this. Actually, 3 Metro teams all total. As this one, you had St. Mike's against Sandia Prep, and Sandia Prep always seems to get to the big matches, Ed.
No, I had St. Mike's earlier in the year for, I saw them play Robertson. They're a very good team. So I wasn't surprised to see them in the state championship here.
And as always, they have that sport court on the court at Santa Ana Star Center, and I'll tell you what, it always looks cool. It looks like they got a different one because it almost looks like a wood court, even though I don't know if it is wood.
It doesn't look like the one they've used in the past. So
no,
yeah.
It's very cool looking.
Especially in the middle there.
Yeah, the middle, it's got the vine lines for the setter and all that good stuff. So it's always a good scene there. But, you know, this was a close match again. St. Mike's trying to assert themselves, and Sandia Prep made it 14-12 here in set number 2. It was 1-0. It was 24-19, and it would be Sandia Prep tying the match. So you had a feeling this one was going to go down to the wire.
And it did. So yeah, that's what you want to see at the state tournament in the finals. So I don't think people were, you know, unhappy about seeing some great volleyball.
So it was 2-1, and you saw St. Mike's winning going away in the second set, and then unforced error there, and it was 22-17, then 23-17, and this is when you start feeling it in the building. I've done some of the championship matches, and I'll tell you what, this is an exciting time.
Yeah, no doubt, no question.
That final point, there's people on their seats, they're on the edge of their seats, and St. Mike's, the #1 seed, holds off Sandia Prep. They win it in 4 sets.
And then, you know, there's also the hoisting of the blue trophy.
Yeah.
And the presentation of the trophy. So I think, you know, you and I have seen, you know, seems like hundreds of thousands of that, but it doesn't get you, like you said, any better than that at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you get kids jumping all over the place. You see tears. I've actually been down there waiting to do the post-match interview, and you actually, in the players' eyes, it's a cool situation.
Well, it's a long journey. Any championship season in any sport, it's a long journey. You go through injuries. You go through so much with wins, losses, and sometimes you hate the game. You hate practices. Sometimes, you know, players will, you know, disagree with the coach, and it goes on and on. So at the end of the year, when you win one, gosh, man, all that stuff is just forgotten, and then you can brag for the next 35, 40 years. Hey, we won one. Here's my ring. You never forget it. Never.
Let's take a look now at the 5A. No longer 6A in all the other sports other than football. So look at the 5A championship match. And this one was one that you wanted. La Cueva #1, Sandia #2.
Yeah, you couldn't have asked for a better match there. The Bears, again, against the Matadors.
Both teams with championships under their belt, so a lot of prestige and bragging rights at stake.
Championship pedigree, both teams.
Yep. So you had Sandia up early in the first set and kept coming up with good plays. It was 23-20, 24-20, and with Sandia trailing 1-0, it was 17-14 La Cueva. And just hard hits all the way around, Ed.
You know what? Yes, great sets, great passing, great, you know, kills, great blocks, just great volleyball all the way around. Great serves. You would expect that in a championship match.
Yeah, the digging, look at that. I mean, just a good rally there. And, that's what you like at this time of the year. You get the 2 top teams and even maybe the top 4 or 5 teams going at it in pool play, and you see some of the best volleyball of the season.
Absolutely. And that's what you want to see.
Absolutely. So it was 24-23 La Cueva, and the ball would go long, and La Cueva would win it, and they do it in straight sets.
Again, look, I always get a kick, and I know you do too, the championship celebration. You just don't forget it. And, yeah, so great job by
Well, like you said, on volleyball, volleyball is kind of a different sport. It's kind of on the line of softball and maybe baseball, but probably volleyball and softball are kind of parallel because a lot of the kids play club, so they play a lot of volleyball year-round, and then they get together as a team. Some of the club mates play on the same high school, some don't, but then once you play high school and you play together, it's all about you want to beat that team, you want to beat that team. Hey, my teammate's on the other team, I want to beat that team. And, there's a lot of pride in there, and like you said, every time that you see the end of a match, the bench just explodes and the girls are jumping everywhere.
Especially that last match because it was 25-24, 26-24. You have to win by 2. But I think the other thing too is some of those club sports I think have kind of eroded rivalries because back in the day, you didn't see players playing in the off season on the same team, and it's fine. It's a different era now. But man, rivalries would boil over. Man, I remember playing Albuquerque High, Sandia. And I really, you wanted to win because in the community, you'd hear it. If you went to a 7-Eleven or a store, there's no Walmart back then, they'd tell you, hey, the dogs got you or the Matadors go, man. So rivalries are a little bit different, but they still, as you mentioned, you still want to beat that team, and especially if you played on a club team, you definitely want to beat them.
Let's go back to football and look at the schedules this week. We'll start with the 8-man. It's the 8-man finals this week as you have a couple of championship games this week. 8-man is one of those. And it will be number 1 Gateway Christian, as Steve Davis pointed out, one of the who owes who. They're at number 2 Tatum.
Well, I'm going down there. I'm going down there for that game, and I talked to the Tatum coach this morning, and they've lost twice to Gateway Christian this year, so I haven't had a chance to talk to the Gateway Christian coach yet. But Gateway Christian lost 1 time to Melrose, and they avenged that loss quite handily, I might add. So you know what, Tatum, I'm looking forward to going down there. It's going to be a fun trip, so that's going to be an exciting game.
Another championship game is the 2A finals, and you look at the 2A championship, number 1 Eunice, number 2 Santa Rosa, and Santa Rosa's for real.
Run-heavy team. So that's going to be an interesting game as well. I believe Sebastian Noel has coverage of that game, so that's going to be another great contest.
3A semifinals, and you have a game on Friday and a game on Saturday. Hope Christian hosting the game against Robertson at Milne, and number 6 West Las Vegas at number 2 Dexter.
I had a chance to talk to Hope head coach Gary Beck this morning for Enchantment Sports, and Tularosa actually scored 12 points last week. Hope 67, Tularosa 12, where Hope had only been giving up 2.6 points a game. So Tularosa scores 10 more points, and they still game ends in the 3rd quarter. And one of the things that Coach Beck had said during the 3-week layoff, they kept them doing the same thing, the same routine, so they didn't break it up and get complacent. He feels like they're in a good place.
4A semifinals, as you look at St. Pius at Community playing host to Bloomfield, and Taos at number 2 Portales at Eastern New Mexico University at 1 o'clock, both games on Saturday.
Okay, well, St. Pius would, again, they beat Aztec, and Aztec had beaten them 28-24 earlier in the year. So Pius gets revenge, but at the end of the game, quarterback Derek Rivera goes out with a serious leg injury. His availability is he's probably not going to play. So the Sardins and Coach Dave Montoya are going to have to figure out something. That's a huge loss. And injuries happen. Rivera, it was late in the game on a scramble, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like the senior will be able to play this semifinal game.
Take a look now at 5A. And some good matchups in 5A as well, a Friday, Saturday. Number 4, Artesia. Number 1, Roswell at the Bull Bowl, at the Wool Bowl. The Bull Bowl, we'll call it whatever, but it's going to be a great crowd and a great game.
Okay, well, so earlier, Artesia beat Roswell about a month ago. They went for it on a 2-point conversion. They beat Roswell 36-35. I believe that game was, I'm not sure where that was at, but this one's at Roswell. So the other game, Goddard at Los Lunas.
That one was actually at Artesia.
Okay, so Artesia wins 36-35. Now,
And it was a game that Roswell should have won.
You watched that. You saw it. Roswell head coach Jeff Lynn, you have to wonder what his thoughts are, but it was a heck of a game. So 1 point separated them. So think about this, Scott. Goddard played Los Lunas at Goddard after Nick Garden got hurt. The Tigers go for it on a 2-point conversion. They lose 28-27. So both games that they played, Artesia wins by 1, Goddard wins by 1. So can Los Lunas, are they the last non-District 4 hopeful to beat those, to beat the rest of the District 4 remaining teams, Roswell, Goddard, and Artesia. Los Lunas from District 5.
And speaking of Goddard, they're playing Los Lunas on Saturday.
And that's another You Owe Me game. I talked to Los Lunas head coach Jeremy Maupin this morning, and they played in 2013 at Goddard, so they have to play at Los Lunas. But I'll tell you what, again, Los Lunas overcoming adversity in the first half where they look flat as a pancake, and they come out in the second half. And Coach Jeremy Maupin reminded me they did win the second half 21-7.
I'm sorry, but I don't like that rule.
I don't either.
We played you in 1929. You owe us a game.
I don't either.
I don't like that.
And I said that to Los Lunas head coach Jeremy Maupin this morning. I said that's kind of interesting to me. I don't know if that's, and he didn't say much. He's a class act all the way.
If you're going to do anything, do a coin flip. That's what they do in Southern California. You do a coin flip.
Because you know what?
Otherwise, it should be top seed gets the home game regardless.
Goddard lost one game. And, the Goddard head coach, Chris White, would tell you, hey, we lost one game, and we should get that. We earned that seed, right? Instead, because of a 2013 game, they've got to go down to Los Lunas and play.
In the semifinals.
Right.
Which is basically what you're working for the seed to begin with.
I don't disagree. I think I agree with you 100% on that.
I mean, the only thing, if you're looking for a top 4 seed, you're getting a bye. But other than that, you want home field.
Right, and you work for it all year, and you deserve it.
So you only get one home field game, and now you're on the road for the semis. So to me, it makes no sense. But anyway, 6A playoffs now. All the games are on Friday. Cleveland hosting Volcano Vista. Centennial hosting La Cueva. So basically, you have a District 1 matchup and a District 2 matchup.
And I'll tell you what, Volcano Vista lost 61-46 a couple weeks ago to Cleveland. And I talked to Volcano Vista assistant, as I mentioned, and they're very confident. They think they can go and they watch film. They think they have a good shot against Cleveland. They're not backing off, or they're not afraid at all. And I wonder, is this the week that La Cueva finally has all these things catch up to them? They're still winning. They're still winning, and they advance to the semis. But they play. You know what? Did we give enough credit? And I'm going to ask this. We mentioned Cleveland. Did we give enough credit to Centennial? They're undefeated. Right. And they did spot El Dorado a 17-3 lead, and they came back and won. But they, Scott Frost has done. I don't know if it's Frost is the quarterback. I don't know if it's Scott Frost or not, but okay, Scott Frost. Lance Frost. Scott Frost is the coach at USF. So Lance Frost, the quarterback at Centennial.
Actually, he's at Nebraska now.
Nebraska. He was at USF.
He was at
yeah. So Lance Frost, the quarterback at Centennial, has had a great season. But did we give Centennial enough credit? We're saying Cleveland, and Cleveland has done well, and they had a big signature win, and I thought that was a big win against Monsanto. People doubted them because Dorian Lewis wasn't in the lineup, but they always seem to come up with big wins. And you have to go down to Lightning Bolt Stadium if you're Volcano Vista, and it's not a big deal because they play them there every year anyway. They played them a couple weeks ago. But I wonder if we gave Centennial enough credit, because they sure deserve it.
Speaking of credit, let's look at the top performers quickly here, starting with quarterback. You got Caperton, still number 1. Taylor Balazan from West Las Vegas moves up to number 3 on that list. Marcus Steele, well, he's not at Aztec. Actually, that's Cibola. And Gonzalez of Bloomfield. That rounds out the top 5. My apologies there. Let's go to the running backs now. And running backs, you got Trevino from JAL. His team was knocked out last week. And again, I did it again. Diego Casillas is not from Los Lunas. He's from Berlin. I don't know how these things don't change when you change them, Ed, but
that's okay. You put a lot of work in these slides.
Not very happy at that, but Ivy Sod finishes off his career with 293 carries this season.
You know what? That's a workhorse back. We mentioned that. He's had a great junior season and a great senior season. His body has to be feeling some bumps and bruises, because that kid carried the load for Monsanto as far as from a running back position most of the season.
Wide receivers. Garrett Ortega still number 1. Jaramillo Dorame from Blankenship moves up from Manzano, and you got Nas Robertson back in the top 5.
Well, if you look at Blankenship, nearly 1,000 yards for the senior wide receiver. He'll go play basketball now. He's a big part of the Monarch. Big bigs underneath, so he had quite a season. He really did. And their passing game, he probably would have had over 1,000, but their passing game wasn't as proficient earlier in the year.
We had so much to talk about, so we don't have as much time to talk about this as we wanted, but we'll talk about the Lobo football team and basketball team real quick. You got Lobos losing to Boise State 45-14. Total yards dominated by Boise State, 449 to 262. Brett Rippon with 3 touchdowns, 222 yards, almost a pedestrian effort compared to a couple of years ago when he came here.
Brett Rippon's one of the top quarterbacks in the conference, if not the top quarterback. Sean Modster had a big game, and the Lobos weren't doing too bad. They really weren't. They trailed 14-7, and then they got a fumble return for a touchdown, and the floodgates opened. That was it. Really.
Yeah, they worked hard.
Yeah,
I mean,
they did.
They weren't embarrassed by any stretch of the imagination. They kept their heads up, and if you're looking for positives, that was probably it. They just kept on playing.
I don't think that this team has given up. I've seen Lobo teams in the past with record like that kind of give up and mail it in, and this team hasn't given up.
Yeah, I've been part of teams that were accused of that, so I know exactly where you're coming from, and this is not that.
This team, look, they don't have the talent on both sides of the ball that other teams do in the conference, and that's not an excuse. That's reality. Hopefully that changes in the future.
Let's look at this week's game now. This will be on Saturday afternoon. You have a doubleheader as Lobos Wyoming, then it's the Lobos UTEP in men's basketball. As we have a couple of minutes ahead, Wyoming losing their quarterback, and they have Sean Chambers, who is the quarterback now, and it's an opportunity for the Lobos to finish off the year on a positive note.
So much has gone wrong. You don't want to end up 2 seasons with 2 6-game losing streaks. Is it 7-game losing streaks happened last year? That's the last thing you want to avoid. I think the staff and the players are still working hard. They haven't seen the results. If you go back to a couple of games that they were close in, the Colorado State game that they lost, and that kind of started things going on a downward spiral. So hopefully they get a win to end the season.
Got about a minute or so to talk about this. The Lobos losing 98-94 to New Mexico State. And in terms of early games, excitement was the key. How about the crowd? 14,393.
One of their biggest crowds in a very long time, and hopefully
probably about 4 or 5 years.
Yes, hopefully that'll be. But I got to tell you, I saw some sports speak up stuff today that I don't know where some of this stuff comes from. I won't even say what I read. But you know what, Coach Weir and the Lobos, they got kicked on the glass. Coach Weir admitted it afterward. I think Carlton Bragg will definitely help that when he's eligible December 16th. But rebounding's a lot about positioning and desire. They do have one of the biggest lineups, they said, in the nation. They've gotten bigger. They couldn't keep Aggie guard Tommy Harris. They couldn't keep him in front of them. They had a hard time. The Aggies, I listened to Jeff Grammer yesterday on Jim Villanucci's show. They shot 50% from 3, man. And, they came in and put the nets on fire.
Yeah, they were 14-28. Lobos, 56.7%, 17-30.
Okay, that's not bad.
They hadn't been shooting that well percentage-wise. They had a great game, almost 60% shooting in the ball game, 31-52, 59.6, so an outstanding game shooting.
Okay, so they made a good comeback at the end. They did. But you know what? It's always kind of a punch to the chest for Lobo fans like myself. Lobo, they hate losing to the Aggies. Hopefully they'll, and this is what, 3 in a row now. So Coach Weir has his work cut out when they go to travel to Las Cruces. But first things first, I think they have UTEP first on Saturday. So they've got to get ready to face the Miners.
Ed, want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next week.
Scott, thank you very much. Same to you and your family.
Enjoy your road trips, by the way.
Oh, we're going to have a blast. We're going to have a real good time.
Want to thank the crew, Alden Iowani, our fine director, Jason Poole, Josh Brown. Want to thank Steve Davis. Want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next week. I'm Scott Coletti for Ed Nunez on the Sports Desk.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one